All right, my name is Stephanie Countryman, and I'm the Director of BioServe Space Technologies, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about our capabilities and expertise. BioServe is essentially part of the University of Colorado. We've been operating since 1987. We've been following the same mission for over 31 years, which is basically to collaborate with industry, academia, and government to conduct high-impact, high-quality space life sciences research. And we've done that on a multitude of vehicles. We started our first spaceflight experiment in 1991 on board the Space Shuttle, and today we're supporting research up on the International Space Station. The center is a conglomerate of faculty, staff, and students, and we have extensive space life sciences research expertise, as well as spaceflight hardware development and design expertise to support life sciences experiments. We have a long, extensive list of services and support that we provide to our science partners. We provide science and technical support in terms of designing your experiment. And then we do all of the paperwork and documentation and all the tasks required to get your experiment up on station. And then we do the training for the crew and work with the crew while they operate your experiment. So we have, basically, we provide end-to-end spaceflight services for you so that you can focus on the science, and we focus on everything else to get your experiment flown and conducted successfully on the space station. We have a long, extensive flight history. We've supported life science experiments on 61 spaceflight missions to date. We've flown on a variety of vehicles, and because we've been around for quite some time, we've actually conducted experiments on the Russian Mir space station. We've been on the Space Shuttle. We've done experiments on over 40 space shuttle missions. And then we've flown on the Soyuz Progress, the Japanese HTV, the SpaceX Dragon, the Northrop Grumman Cygnus, and we've been on the International Space Station since 2001. And we've supported hundreds and hundreds of individual investigations over the years in molecular sciences, cellular, small organism, plant, and animal studies. We've supported a large array of life science experiments, as well as other types of experiments, but primarily our expertise lies in the life science arena. We have in-house science expertise in a multitude of areas. Muscle atrophy and bone loss, mammalian cell culture, microbial studies focusing on virulence and antibiotic effectiveness. We've flown a wide variety of small organisms. We've supported research and have in-house expertise in model organisms. We also have an extensive history of supporting rodent research and using rodents as a disease model in space. And lots of other areas within life science we have experience with, but these are the areas of our research expertise in-house so that we can work with our partners to help them develop and design an experiment that can be successfully conducted in space. We're definitely a results-oriented organization. Our philosophy is to help our science teams that we're collaborating with to design an experiment that will yield high quality results. We have over 350 referee journal articles by researchers, both externally and internally, that have been a result of the support that we've provided to them for their spaceflight experiments. So we really like to work hand in hand with our science teams to develop those experiments to make sure that they can be conducted in space. And not only do they look like how it's done in the lab on the ground, but it also follows all of the NASA safety guidelines that we must follow. We do support both flight and ground controls, and in the end, we want to make sure that the results that you get are a result of microgravity exposure rather than something that's a limitation with the hardware or a limitation or a result of other challenges associated with conducting science in space. I wanted to give a brief example of some types of research that we're supporting currently. Right now up on the space station, we have an experiment called Micro 15 that is looking at the development of embroid bodies. We've also supported the Organ on a Chip program that looked at kidney cells, specifically the cells from the proximal tubules. We supported micro-14, which were THP-1 monocytes. We've done endothelial cells, osteoblasts, progenitor cells. So we've supported a wide variety of cell cultures up on space station to date. We have hardware expertise in-house, as I mentioned earlier, and we've been designing and developing cell culture systems and hardware for basically since we started in 1987. We have three, what we call our stable units up on space station, and these are essentially incubators, like the incubators that you would see in a lab on the ground. We have these incubators up on station. They can provide temperature control from -5°C to +43°C, and they're also able to provide atmosphere control, which is the 5% active CO2 control for cells and cell culture type of experiments. Each incubator has a volume of 23 liters, so it can hold 23 liters of scientific hardware inside of it. It can support passive and powered payloads. It has 2 USB ports, Ethernet ports, and then switchable power supplies, both 28-volt and 5-volt. We also have one of our older incubators. It's called CGBA. That's been up on station since 2001. And that has a range of -16°C to +37°C. And that can also support powered experiments. Some of our smaller type of hardware that we've designed for cell culture, we call it the BioServe. We have both, actually have single well, 6-well, and 12-well. And these provide passive gas exchange through the membranes, but they're totally sealed and contained to meet the requirements of levels of containment for NASA safety. They have inlet and outlet ports and sampling ports for fluid exchanges. And we have flown these now numerous times and successfully supported different types of experiments with these units. We've also built a semi-automated perfusion system to support the Nordis triplex tissue chip. This system just flew on SpaceX 17 this year. It's designed specifically for the Nordis triplex chip, though it can support other chips as well. It could be modified potentially. Right now with the Nordis chips, it can support up to 24 chips at one time, which is 72 samples. We also have a standard lab microscope, which is a Nikon TS100 up on station. It's a standard phase contrast inverted microscope. It has a variety of objectives to meet the needs of the science. And we also have an onboard camera system that then can record still images or video images of what it is of the samples that need to be imaged. And just as an example, we've built a wide variety of automated hardware, and these are some examples of the different types of hardware that we have built over the years that had automated media perfusion, but also automated sampling, automated waste removal with gas exchange, both active and passive. So that's just an example of some other types of hardware that we have also built. Some of the other experience or expertise that we have that would be important in terms of developing and operating experiments up on station is we have expertise in microfluidics, in developing pumps, sterile technique, understanding how to load science into sterile hardware so that the samples do not become contaminated. We also do biocompatibility testing with all of our hardware with the science to ensure that there's nothing in the hardware that is that would negatively impact the samples. We have experience launching live and frozen samples and activating on orbit. We have a thaw system that we've used to thaw frozen cells successfully on orbit. We've done all types of fluid exchanges, both manually and automated up on orbit in terms of providing media, preservation, fixation for any type of samples. And then we also understand and are able to access the assets that are needed on orbit for the samples once the samples are terminated and then need to be held until they're returned to the ground. So basically, you know, BioServe is a highly experienced team. We have a large inventory of available hardware, but we also have the experience to modify or design new hardware as needed based upon the science needs. We really have a full knowledge of all the details required to conduct life science in space. And what we really try to do is allow the PI or science team to focus on their science and not worry about all of the details that are needed to be completed in order to fly an experiment in space. We let them do the science, work with them on science, but then we also do all of the NASA safety and paperwork and manifest and crew training so that science can be conducted successfully up on station. And really, our team is dedicated to science success. It's our philosophy. It's what we strive for in every experiment that we support, is to have good, high-quality science results. So thank you for your time, and that is a little summary of BioServe.